And I told her I'd give her a couple local questions. You all rolling?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Well, it's great to be back in Iowa, here at the largest pancake breakfast in the country and the largest town square in the country. Centerville just feels like home to me. And the response we've gotten here, so many people mentioning not only our campaign for president, but mentioning the debate this past week, how much they appreciate the way we're championing a conservative agenda that just is synonymous with places like Centerville, Iowa. So it's a joy to be here. I'm looking forward to being in the parade, and we'll continue to work our hearts out in every county in this state, carry our message forward. And I'm more convinced than ever that we have change coming to the White House, and we're going to have new leadership in the Republican Party to win that day in November of 24 and win a strong and prosperous and secure future for the American people. Questions?
Yeah, Mr. Vice President, yesterday in Michigan, another lawsuit was filed, an effort to keep Trump's name off the ballot under the 14th Amendment. I know you've talked about those efforts before, but if a judge does find that sound, are you okay with that?
Look, I understand the history of that constitutional amendment, and it just seems to me to be one more effort of people to take this question out of the hands of the American people. I'm just very confident that Republican primary voters are going to sort through this field, and they're going to give us a standard bearer that represents new leadership in the Republican Party. So I'd like to see all those questions left to the American people, and I expect they will.
Former Vice President, yesterday you suggested that Senator Menendez should maybe resign. In the past, you've said that former President Trump is innocent until proven guilty when those criminal investigations play out. What's the difference between the way that you look at Senator Menendez and former President Trump?
Well, actually, I said Senator Menendez should be innocent until proven guilty yesterday. And I said any decision about his future should be left to him and to the people of New Jersey. But given the weight of evidence that's been presented against him, it'd probably be best for him to step aside. But I would leave that to him and stand on the rule of law as I did.
You might have noticed being here, there's a lot of Trump 2024 merchandise. Why do you think, despite skipping both debates, having multiple legal cases against him, Trump is still the front runner for the GOP nomination?
Well, look, I think people are very grateful for the record of the Trump-Pence administration compared to the disastrous results of the Biden administration. And Joe Biden has weakened this country at home and abroad. Our economy is struggling, the worst inflation in 40 years. The war on energy has caused gasoline prices to go through the roof. And again here in Centerville, I heard people talking about the crisis at our border that's seen literally millions of people come into this country. And people want new leadership, and they know under our administration we secured the border, we had a growing economy, and we stood tall on the world stage. But I have to tell you, I really believe as I travel around Iowa and travel around the country that Republican voters still want us to stay on that agenda. It was first minted when Ronald Reagan came to the White House, and it was the agenda that we governed under for 4 years of the Trump-Pence administration. But today, both Donald Trump and other Republicans in this field are walking away from that conservative agenda. The former president is actually advocating a 10% tax on all goods imported into the country. He's walking away from a commitment of fiscal responsibility and reform in the midst of this national debt crisis that we're facing, shying away from American leadership in the world, and in fact criticizing pro-life legislation that's been passed in states around the country. That's not the conservative agenda we governed on, and I believe that the people of Iowa, as they continue to focus in on the candidates, are going to see that I'm not only the most qualified, but I'm the most consistent and tested conservative in this race, and I like our chances in the caucus in January.
Mr. Vice President, more House Republicans are voting against Ukraine funding. What would you want to say to them, and what is your position?
Well, I believe America is the leader of the free world. We're the arsenal of democracy. And I believe it will be important for America to continue to provide funding for weapons for the Ukrainian military to be able to defeat and repel that Russian invasion. Now, I think Joe Biden has done a terrible job explaining this to the American people. He gives these gauzy speeches about democracy in the world. Look, our national interest there is that if Vladimir Putin overruns Ukraine, I have no doubt that Vladimir Putin and the Russian military will cross another border of a NATO country that we would be forced to send our troops to defend. So I believe it's in our interest to give the Ukrainian military the resources for the weapons to fight and to win against that Russian invasion. I also think it's the best way to restrain China's ambitions in the Asia Pacific. I'll continue to be a strong voice for that, and I truly do believe that represents the majority of Republicans both in the Congress and across this country, and they understand the stakes in Ukraine, and they understand our role as leader of the free world.
Mr. Vice President, going on at this point, your brother voted against USA. Has this issue divided your family? And then on the government shutdown, do you still have confidence in Speaker McCarthy to do the job and shepherd the House and unite them around the Senate?
Well, look, I am very grateful for the work of every House Republican, including the one with the same last name as mine. And as they continue to work through this issue, I see House Republicans as the last line of defense for taxpayers, but I'm going to continue to be a strong voice for American military support for Ukraine. Look, we should never send American troops into that fight. Ukraine is not our war, but freedom is our fight, and giving them the resources for the weapons to be able to continue to fight and not just hold the line, but defeat that Russian military, I believe is in our direct and vital national interest. And I'll be a voice for that to everyone I speak to.
One more, guys. One more.
Anybody? I owe her one more. Go ahead.
60 Minutes did a report about some of the other financial aid that's going to Ukraine. So, like, I think they're supplying salaries for emergency workers.
Well, look, if you know my record, I'm a strict fiscal conservative. I believe in accountability. I think it's important that the American taxpayers know where those resources are going. And for my part, I'm just going to continue to support funding for weapons and for military activity in Ukraine. And I said recently that I think we ought to be looking to our allies in Europe to take up the slack on any humanitarian assistance or other assistance for Ukraine. We ought to be providing, out of our defense resources, support for their military and let others participate in any other aspect as Ukraine deals with this war. You have one more?
Thank you for making it local. You've been to Iowa a lot, so have the topics that are important to Iowans changed at all since you've been visiting? What are the most important topics to them?
No, I've been, ever since I left office, I've had the privilege of coming in and out of Iowa. We announced here in Iowa 6 months ago, and to be honest with you, what I heard 6 months ago, 2 years ago, is what I'm hearing today. American families are hurting. Bidenomics has failed. Inflation is robbing the wallets and purses and pocketbooks of Americans every day. People are having a hard time making ends meet. And I think people of Iowa, just like every American, are deeply concerned about a crisis at our border that's seen millions of people come into this country. And they want to see new leadership. That's why I'm running, because I believe we need new leadership in the White House, but I also believe we need new leadership in the Republican Party. Leadership that has the experience and the qualifications to know what to do on day one. And as I continue to go forward, we're going to continue to offer those solutions, because I know we can secure our border, we can tackle inflation, we can revive our economy, we can put our nation back on a balanced budget, support our military, and stand tall in the world. And it's just going to take experienced leadership to do that, and that's exactly what we offer.
Great. Thanks, guys. We're setting up for the parade. We got to go.